She smooths her dress while my husband zips her up. I'm 32, a wedding photographer, from Akron, Ohio. They think they're alone in the guest room, which used to be mine before we redecorated for visiting family. The door is cracked, not wide, just enough to catch the edge of her smile as she adjusts the neckline, just enough to hear his whisper low, too low to make out, but not low enough to hide the fact that it carries tenderness. The mirror they're standing in front of is one I bought from an estate sale the year we got married. It was meant to reflect new beginnings. Instead, it holds the image of two people dressing each other in lies. She wears the ivory dress I wore at our anniversary dinner 3 years ago. I had donated it to the back closet a while ago, but apparently not far enough away. Her hair is curled loosely, in waves that used to cascade over my childhood shoulders when she knelt to brush it. Now, she lets him tuck one behind her ear. I see his fingers graze her skin, the same fingers that once brushed flour off my face in the kitchen, the same ones that unclasped my bra the night we signed the lease on this house. My mother hums. She never hums. Not unless she's pleased. I back away before they see me. The floor doesn't creak it used to when I was little, but Grant fixed that. Of course he did. He fixes everything except the obvious. Downstairs, the kettle starts to hiss. I make tea. Herbal. Calming. There's no shaking in my hand, just a mild stiffness in my jaw from clenching. They come down 5 minutes later. Casual. Donna acts like she slept well, says the mattress in the guest room is surprisingly firm. Grant pours her coffee and tells her to use the almond creamer. I watch the way she smiles at him when he remembers her preferences. When I serve the eggs, she thanks me, he thanks me. I smile. I sit. I listen. They talk about the gallery opening that's coming to town, the one I mentioned last week. She says she might go, if someone invites her. She nudges him, playfully. I laugh once. Quiet. Not even loud enough for it to land. The rest of the morning passes in domestic silence. Dishes are washed, napkins folded. She goes upstairs to shower. He leaves to check the mailbox. I return to the guest room. The mirror is still slightly fogged from her breath. The dress she wore is gone. But on the nightstand, her lipstick, coral glimmer, the shade she stopped wearing after I turned 18. Next to it is the card I made for her last Mother's Day. It's folded open. My handwriting looks childish now. She never tossed it. She just set it beside her makeup, like a souvenir. I take it and slide it into my planner. Later that day, she leaves to meet a friend for lunch. Grant says he's going to Home Depot. I check the laundry. His shirt, the one he wore while helping her dress, smells faintly of her. Citrus and cedar. She's worn that perfume since her 30s. The scent is layered now with something newer, sweeter, like betrayal wrapped in powder. I could ask. I could scream. But I don't. Instead, I walk into my office, unlock the bottom drawer, and take out a manila folder. Inside, the prenup. 3 years ago, he signed it without blinking. He said it didn't matter, that he'd never touch what wasn't his. I'd added a clause back then on a lawyer's advice. Separate property remains separate, no commingling credits. We laughed about it. He called it overkill. I called it foresight. I close the folder again, but leave it on the desk. That night, we all eat dinner together. Her spaghetti, my sauce, his wine. They talk around me like I'm background noise. I laugh in the right places. Nod where needed. When she goes to bed, I catch him watching her walk up the stairs. He doesn't know I'm watching him. The next morning, a video shows up in my inbox. No message, just a file titled sundaychurch.m. I open it. The church foyer. Donna walks in beside Grant. They're whispering. Her hand grazes his lower back. A teenage girl, Lena, from the youth group, lifts her phone and records it all. The red recording light is visible in the reflection. They don't notice. I do. I replay it. Slow motion. The way my mother leans into him. The way he tilts his head to hear her better. I don't delete it. I forward it to myself and save it to a private folder. I send Lena a thank you emoji. That evening, I open the prenup again. I highlight the clause. Then I pull up our joint statements. He transferred $9,750 to an account labeled North Point LLC. I don't ask. I print the wire confirmation. Wire number WT582149,750, the 12th of June 2022. To North Point LLC, retainer. I staple it to the prenup, then I call my attorney. Just to confirm. No urgency in my voice, just inquiry. She tells me what I already know, breach is breach. I file it back into the manila folder. The next day, Donna walks into the HOA meeting wearing my earrings. Pearls. Classic. Reserved for big events. She addresses the board about preserving neighborly decorum. I sit in the back. Miss Palmer records it all. I write the word breach in my planner beside the date. When the hearing ends, I don't speak to Donna. She doesn't look for me either. That evening, I call Deputy Harris. He owes me a favor. I took his daughter's graduation photos. I ask him to serve a document. He agrees. I prepare the notice. 3-day notice to vacate served the 21st of October 2023, Deputy Harris. I print 2 copies. One goes into Donna's nightstand drawer right beside my old diary. I want her to find it before bed. I want her to read my 1-year-old handwriting asking if she'll braid my hair for picture day and then read the notice. Poetic, precise. 2 nights later, she opens the door wearing my old robe. Grant stands behind her, shirtless. Deputy Harris reads the notice aloud. She doesn't react right away. Then her hands tremble. She turns to Grant. He doesn't say anything. He looks at me. But I'm not there to soothe him. I'm there to end the fairy tale. I hand the second copy of the notice to Harris. He nods. It's legal now. I don't need to yell. I don't slam doors. I just close them. Later that evening, I watch them load boxes into her car. I leave the keys on the dining table. The wedding album sits beside them, its cover slightly scuffed. I don't need it. She can keep the past if she wants. I carry it quietly. The house is quieter now, but it isn't peace, it's post-storm stillness, the kind that settles when a tornado has already peeled the roof back and you're just sitting there, blinking at the sky. I hear the hum of the fridge, the occasional creak of floorboards, and the wind chimes out back that Donna insisted on hanging last spring. I thought they were tacky then. Now they sound like guilt in the breeze. Grant hasn't called. Donna hasn't returned to collect the last of her things, and I haven't reminded either of them. I sit at the kitchen island with a mug of chamomile, tracing the rim with my finger, thinking of the time I got my wisdom teeth pulled and she spoon-fed me pudding while humming old lullabies. I can't remember the tune now, only the way her nails tapped the spoon and the smell of lavender hand cream. That same lavender scent lingered on the nightstand next to the notice. I left it there on purpose. I used to chase comfort. Now I build traps with it. I open my laptop and start backing up files. Photos from the wedding I shot the week before Donna arrived. The bride had cried when her father walked her down the aisle. I'd captured the moment, the way her fingers trembled around his arm, the way he kissed her forehead. I didn't even know I was crying behind the camera until I checked the lens and saw the smudge. I wipe at my cheeks now out of habit. No tears, not today. I upload the files to a client folder, click Share, and send the final gallery. One more thing wrapped, tidy, done. I walk through the house and take inventory. Her earrings are gone, her extra shoes, the travel toiletry bag she always kept in the downstairs linen closet, but the drawer under the guest room bed? Still stuck. I kneel, tug it open. Inside, folded like secrets, is the silk scarf I gave her for her birthday last year. Navy with white stars. She'd told me it reminded her of my first-grade art project, the one she kept in a frame by the piano for years. I run the scarf through my fingers. It's soft, barely worn. Did she forget it? Or did she leave it on purpose, like a breadcrumb or a dare? I tuck it into my coat pocket. Downstairs, my phone buzzes. Grant. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rings again. This time, I answer. You got what you wanted, he says. No hello, no apology. Just those 6 words, thick with resentment. I don't respond. He waits, breathes. She's staying with her sister in Dayton. Doesn't even want to see me. He laughs, but it's hollow. I stare at the marble countertop. A vein in the stone splits beneath my tea mug like a fracture line. Did you plan this the whole time? He asks. The prenup? The notice? His voice is sharper now, peeling at the edges. I exhale through my nose. You breached, I say. I executed. Silence. He hangs up. I let the phone slide across the counter. Later that evening, I drive to Donna's sister's house not to visit, just to see. The curtains are drawn. A soft light spills through the window, catching on the edges of a framed family portrait in the foyer. I don't get out of the car. I just sit there, engine idling, thinking of all the Thanksgivings we spent in that living room. The folding table for kids, the dry turkey. Donna always brought the pie. She never made it, just picked it up from the store and dusted it with cinnamon so it looked homemade. I used to pretend I didn't notice. Now I see it all. I drive home and park in the driveway. The porch light flickers. Grant never got around to fixing that one. Inside, I grab the album from the table where I left it. The leather is worn, the corners soft from years of flipping. I turn each page slowly. There we are, cutting the cake, barefoot on the beach, her hand on his shoulder in the background of our kiss. I hadn't noticed that before. I close the album, slip it into a padded envelope, and address it. Donna Beckett, care of Margaret Owens, Dayton. No note, just the past. Sealed. I drop it at the mailbox and walk back inside. 2 days pass, then 3. The envelope is gone. No reply. That's fine, I didn't send it for closure. I sent it because it belonged to them more than it did to me. They authored that version of my life. I'm just removing my name from the cover. On Saturday, I get a package, no sender listed. Inside is the silk scarf. Folded, clean, no note, just the fabric. The message is clear. No apologies, no regrets, only returns. I don't keep it. I burn it in the fire pit out back, watching the stars melt into ash. That night, I dream of her. Not the version from last month, or last year, but the version from when I was 6 when she carried me across the parking lot after I scraped my knee at the skating rink. She whispered, "You're okay, baby. I've got you." I wake up angry at myself for believing it again, even in a dream. The next morning, I photograph a vow renewal, couple in their 60s. Second chances. She wears a blue lace gown. He cries when she walks toward him. I frame them with care. I blur the edges just slightly, softening the light so that the moment feels timeless. Editing the photos later, I wonder how many stories hide behind smiles, how many quiet betrayals shape the way people hold hands. The bride thanks me afterward, says I captured something real. I nod. That's the job. On the drive home, I take the long way, past the church, past the lake where Grant once proposed. The dock is empty. I park, sit, let the cold press against my arms. I remember the proposal, the way his voice shook, the way I said yes too quickly, as if urgency could protect me from eventual disappointment. The sky turns a muted orange. I stay until the light fades completely. When I get home, there's a message from Grant. I'm moving out next week. You win. I delete it. Victory isn't the right word. This wasn't a game. It was a boundary enforced. A line drawn in the ink of legal terms and silent withdrawals. I shower. Put on pajamas. Make tea. When I sit at the table, there's nothing left of them in this house but dust and faint outlines where their photos used to hang. I wipe one of the empty frames clean, then get up and turn off the lights. The chimes outside still sway. I think I'll take them down tomorrow, or maybe let the wind carry them away. Grant returns a week later to collect the rest of his things, but he doesn't knock. He uses the spare key under the garden rock, the one I used to tease him about hiding like we were in some suburban spy novel. I'm upstairs editing photos, headphones in, when I hear the front door open and close. My fingers freeze on the trackpad. I don't panic. I just pause the music and listen. Footsteps. Familiar. Heavy. Indifferent. I descend the stairs like a ghost. Slow and measured. He's standing in the living room with a half-full box and a look that says he wants confrontation but isn't sure how to initiate it. I lean against the doorway. You're early. He doesn't apologize. Didn't think you'd be home. I say nothing. Let the quiet stretch until it suffocates his intentions. He shifts. I came for the tools and my records. I nod once, gesture toward the garage. He walks past me, and for a moment, I swear I catch the scent of my mother's perfume again, faint but undeniable, embedded in the fabric of his hoodie. I wonder if he notices it, or if it's just part of his skin now. He's in the garage for 15 minutes. I don't follow. I stay in the kitchen, watching the wind move through the backyard, shaking the dying leaves like secrets ready to fall. When he emerges, he carries 2 boxes and doesn't meet my eye. That everything? I ask. He shrugs. What isn't here I don't need? A beat. You burned the scarf, didn't you? It isn't a question, I don't answer. His jaw tightens. She said you would. Still, I say nothing. Words feel useless now, like keys to a door that's already open. He sets the boxes by the door and takes one last look around. I watch his eyes scan the bookshelf, the framed photo of the pier, the blank spot where our wedding photo used to hang. You were always 5 steps ahead, he mutters, like it's an insult. I just stopped pretending I wasn't. I reply. He hesitates at the door. I don't hate you, Rachel. That makes one of us, I think, but instead I say, take care of yourself, Grant. He lingers a second longer, then walks out without another word. I wait until I hear the car pull away before I move. The silence he leaves behind feels final, not like a pause, but a closing bracket. I clean the counter, toss the used tea bag in the trash, and open a new folder on my desktop labeled After. In it, I save one final photo, an unedited shot of Donna in my kitchen, laughing at something Grant said, holding a mug that says, Mother of the Year. I don't remember when I took it, but the date stamp tells me it was just 5 days before the notice. I crop it, adjust the exposure, and drag it into the archive. Not deleted. Just preserved, the way a museum might display a weapon once used in betrayal. I spend the evening reorganizing the pantry. It's mindless work, tactile, satisfying. I toss expired spices, label jars, stack things by height. Donna used to mock my labeling obsession. You always want everything so contained, she once said. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's why this all hurt more, because I believed mothers were supposed to hold chaos, not create it. That night, I sit on the back porch wrapped in a blanket, watching condensation bead on the railing. The wind chimes are silent. The winds died down. I let my thoughts run backward, birthday parties, movie nights, mother-daughter spa trips, all hollow now in retrospect. How many of those moments were real? How many were rehearsals for loyalty she didn't intend to keep? I sip lukewarm tea and think of Lena's video again, the way she titled it without irony, Sunday Church NOV. I never thanked her properly. I open my phone and send a message. Hey, that video helped more than you know. Coffee's on me if you ever want photo tips. She replies instantly. Really? That would be amazing. I smile. Maybe not all daughters get betrayed. Maybe some get to learn early who deserves to stay. The next morning, I wake early and shoot the sunrise. Not for work, for myself. The sky is streaked with gold and lavender, like the cover of a fairy tale book left out in the rain. I stand barefoot on the cold grass and snap until the light shifts from magic to mundane. Later, I pull up the HOA website. The minutes from the last meeting are posted. Donna's speech is transcribed verbatim. Community begins with respect, she said, and ends when that respect is violated. I screenshot it, not out of pettiness, but for irony. I send it to my lawyer with the caption, Exhibit D, unintentional self-reflection. My lawyer replies with a laughing emoji and, your case file is airtight. I close the email and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. In the afternoon, I stop by the gallery Donna mentioned during brunch that day she arrived. The exhibit is called Artifacts of Intimacy. I wander through it slowly, examining photographs of tangled limbs, handwritten letters, broken teacups displayed like relics. One photo stops me. A woman brushing a little girl's hair. Their faces aren't visible, only the hands. One steady, one trusting. The plaque reads, What we pass on. I stare at it for a long time. When I leave, I don't feel heavy. Just clean. Like rinsing off lake water, cold but necessary. I get home and open my planner. Flip past the notes, the breach line, the calendar scribbles. I tear out the page with Donna's handwriting, the one she used when we planned my wedding. I fold it once, then again, then slide it into the envelope that once held our vows. Not out of nostalgia, but for symmetry. Then I throw it away. Trash day is tomorrow. Fitting. I take one last walk through the house that evening, barefoot again. I let myself feel the floors, the grain of the wood, the subtle warmth of lived-in air. I open every drawer, every cabinet. Nothing of theirs remains, only me. And the quiet. I stand at the front door, look out into the street, and know that whatever version of me loved them both no longer lives here. Sunday mornings used to feel sacred. the kind of sacred that isn't about religion but about rhythm. Coffee at 8, hair brushed by 9, quiet radio music on the drive to church where I'd park in the same row every time. Third, from the end by the oak tree, where Grant always said the shade kept the seats cool, and Donna always brought mints in her purse like communion substitutes for when service dragged too long. I arrived 10 minutes early this time, solo, lips glossed but bare-faced otherwise, in a pressed navy blouse and flats I bought with her on clearance, and the lot is mostly full already, which isn't surprising because today is Anniversary Sunday, meaning congregants dress their best and linger longer than usual, hands clasped like we all haven't seen one another since Easter. I walk inside and keep my steps soft, my presence unremarkable. Just another face in the floral sea, but my eyes scan everything. I pass the bulletin board. There's a new announcement for the couple's retreat in Gatlinburg, ironic in the cruelest sense, and then I see them. Donna and Grant. Together. Too close. They're standing just inside the foyer near the side table with the plastic coffee cups, her hand resting lightly on his arm, her head tilted toward him, as if whatever he's saying is private and urgent and meant to sit beneath the volume of the crowd. She wears the cream dress I once complimented at a bridal expo, and she said it was too youthful for her. Funny how that changed. Grant looks relaxed. The kind of relaxed you only see in someone who thinks he's won something. My stomach doesn't flip. My face doesn't change. I'm already beyond emotion. I simply observe. 3 steps to their left is Lena, the youth pastor's daughter, phone in hand, pretending to text but clearly recording. The red light reflects in the foyer's window, a blinking confirmation of truth. I do nothing to stop her. I don't even acknowledge her. I let the moment breathe. Donna's fingers graze Grant's shoulder. He smiles. It isn't loud. It isn't obscene. It's just personal, and that's enough. I move past them without being seen and enter the sanctuary, sit in the back row, and pretend to flip through the program. I don't hear the choir warm up. I don't feel the hymn book in my hand. My ears ring with the silence of restraint. After the service, I avoid the social gauntlet by slipping out a side door. Lena finds me in the parking lot, her phone still in hand. "Hey," she says, not smiling. "You should see this." I nod. She sends it to me on the spot. No words. No questions, just the video and her contact saved in my phone under Lena Church camera, in all caps. I thank her quietly. She shrugs, like she wasn't trying to help, like this wasn't some moral act, but a reflex. Teenagers see everything. They just don't always say it out loud. I drive home, the file unopened but vibrating in my purse like a secret ready to detonate. Once inside, I lock the door, kick off my shoes, and sit on the couch with the laptop already open. I download the video and watch. Once, twice, 3 times. Same moment, same betrayal. My mother touching my husband in a space where God is supposed to live. The irony is not subtle. I scrub backward through the video slowly, watching frame by frame as Donna smiles in that performative way she used to use with sales clerks, all polished warmth and buried blade. And I realize I've seen that smile 1,000 times before, just never directed at him. Until now. I freeze the frame where her thumb brushes against his cufflink. That's the exact second where something innocent crosses into theater. I save a still of it. Then I copy the video onto a flash drive and store it in the fireproof box with our marriage license and my birth certificate. It doesn't need to go viral. It just needs to exist. I know Grant. He lies best when no one can prove he did. Not anymore. Later that afternoon, Donna texts, "Lovely seeing you at service. Let's do lunch soon." I stare at the screen for a long time before replying, "Absolutely. I'll send you dates." My thumb hovers over the keyboard. I almost type something sharp. But no. The performance isn't mine to disrupt. It's theirs. I just play the lighting designer now, choosing when to dim or flood the scene. I go to the kitchen, pour a glass of water, and stare out the window as birds pick at the feeder she gave me for Christmas 2 years ago. The card is still in a drawer somewhere, her handwriting looping and cheerful, written before she decided my husband looked better on her arm than standing beside me. I delete the text thread after taking a screenshot for records. Not rage, just cataloging. That night, I open my planner and flip to the tab marked Legal. I slide the flash drive into the envelope with the prenup. I write one word on the tab above it. Confirmed. The ink bleeds slightly from the pressure. It feels good. Clean. I set the envelope back in its place, close the drawer, and sit in silence. My home hums with appliances and air vents and the soft groan of pipes in the wall, but none of it is noise. It's clarity. It's the sound of a woman sharpening her silence like a knife. The flash drive sits in the drawer like a confession I didn't ask for but always suspected was coming, and I don't touch it again for days. Not because I'm afraid, but because I want it to marinate, like leaving the truth in a slow simmer until it falls apart on its own. No force required. Everything after the church foyer feels like aftermath, like I'm floating above my own life with a clipboard, marking down the date and time of each infraction with the cold detachment of someone who no longer bleeds when cut. I go about my days with methodical stillness. I edit photos. I meal prep. I return calls. I fold laundry with the kind of precision that would make an army sergeant proud. Meanwhile, the rot seeps. It's in the way Donna answers my texts too quickly now, the way Grant lingers too long before bed, as if trying to read my face in case I know something. I don't give him anything. I let them both live in the illusion that their fairy tale still has curtains drawn. One night, I pass Donna in the upstairs hallway. She's in my robe. Not just any robe, the pale pink one from our honeymoon spa package, the one with R embroidered on the cuff. She looks surprised to see me, like she forgot I actually live here. "Oh," she says, adjusting the sash. "Didn't think you were home." I tilt my head slightly. "You're always surprised by that." She smiles, but it's brittle. "Well, I'll get out of your way." She walks off. I stay there a moment, staring at the space she just occupied, wondering if the robe smells like her now or still like me. That same night, I watch Grant sleep. He's sprawled on his side of the bed, breathing evenly, unaware that the woman beside him no longer trusts the air they share. I wonder if betrayal makes people sleep better. Maybe honesty keeps you up, but lies rock you to sleep like lullabies. I get out of bed quietly and go downstairs. I pull out the prenup again. It's dog-eared now from how often I've read it. Clause 7b. Separate property remains separate, no commingling credits. I already know what I'm looking for, but I read the whole thing again anyway, as if it might evolve in the night and offer me more leverage. It doesn't need to. I already have enough. The transfer to North Point LLC wasn't just shady, it was dumb. Grant used a joint account to fund a deposit on a consulting retreat, which turns out to be a cabin he visited twice last month, once with her. I have receipts. I have location tags. I have digital breadcrumbs that lead directly to the wolf's den. The betrayal is no longer emotional, it's financial, and that's where it becomes legally lethal. I print everything. The receipt, the bank statement, the calendar invite he didn't delete. It's all stupidly easy to find, which insults me almost more than the affair itself. If you're going to destroy a marriage, at least be clever. I staple the papers to the back of the prenup and slide the bundle into my bag. I have an appointment with my lawyer in the morning. Donna makes pancakes that day. She always makes pancakes when she wants to feel maternal. She acts like it's a surprise, sets the table, even slices strawberries. "You're up early," she chirps. I nod. Big day. She doesn't ask what kind. Grant comes in wearing gym clothes he won't sweat in. He kisses the top of my head like muscle memory. I don't flinch, but my eyes find Donna's. She looks away first. That tells me everything. Over breakfast, they laugh too much. I stir my coffee. "What was that retreat called?" I ask casually. Grant freezes for half a second. Donna jumps in. "Which one?" "North Point," I say. "He mentioned it last month. Just couldn't remember the name." She nods too fast. "Oh, right, yeah. That place with the dot de sec. Nice deck," Grant mumbles. "Really quiet." "I like quiet," I say. "Don't you?" Donna clears the dishes early. Grant checks his phone. I finish eating alone. Later, when the door slams behind them and I'm finally by myself, I let out a breath I hadn't noticed was caught in my ribs. I sit on the floor of the guest room, my former office, her current kingdom, and I look around. The space has changed. Her scarf hangs from the closet door. Her lotion sits on the dresser. She's made herself a home in a life she didn't build. I pull out my phone and scroll through my wedding album. Not the curated version, but the backup folder I never deleted. In one picture, Donna adjusts my veil while Grant watches us from the background. His expression is soft. Hers is unreadable. Now I know why. She wasn't losing a daughter that day, she was recruiting competition. I forward the photo to myself, save it as a reminder. Then I rise, take one last glance at the room, and close the door behind me like sealing a tomb. That night, I update my will. I remove Grant as the beneficiary. I list my college scholarship fund as the recipient. My lawyer emails back, smart, clean, enforceable. I thank her. No emojis, no exclamation points, just efficiency. Before bed, I sit in the living room with all the lights off and the windows open. The night air is cool. The wind chimes Donna hung last spring tinkle outside, discordant and shrill. I listen anyway. Noise is still better than lies. The lawyer's office smells like peppermint and toner, the kind of sterile chill that always makes me think of waiting rooms and verdicts, and I sit with my spine perfectly straight, fingers laced in my lap, watching as Elaine, my attorney of 3 years, flips through the folder I handed her 20 minutes ago without a single wasted motion. She doesn't speak for a long time, and I appreciate that she's not theatrical, not prone to over-explaining. When she reaches the page with the highlighted clause, she glances up, brow arched, not in surprise, but in silent approval. "He signed this," she says flatly, tapping her manicured nail on the line. "March 14th, 2012, I reply, reciting it like a scripture. Clause 7. B. Separate property remains separate, no commingling credits. And this transfer, she says, flipping to the receipt, came from a joint account. I nod. North Point LLC, supposedly a business retreat. He booked it under our joint card. Then paid a secondary fee from our home fund. She doesn't need to ask what the home fund is. We'd discussed it back when the prenup was drafted. A safe pot, untouched since the wedding, reserved for emergencies or remodeling. But I'd always known what it really was. A test, a line in the sand. And now there were his footprints all over it. "We can act on this," Elaine says simply. "It constitutes breach. The evidence is clean. I want quiet enforcement," I reply. "No drama, just execution." She smiles at the word. "Understood." She pulls a form from her drawer and begins filling in blanks with methodical speed. Names, dates, asset totals, property definitions. I answer without pause. My voice never wavers. "What about the residence?" I ask. She glances at the deed. "You purchased it outright before marriage. No secondary claim. If he's still occupying it, we'll serve a notice to vacate. He'll have 72 hours. "Can that include her?" I ask. "She doesn't have tenant rights. Elaine's pen doesn't stop. She's a guest. If he lets her stay, she's bound by his occupancy." I nod again. Good. We finalize the documents, and I slide the flash drive across the table. "This contains footage," I say. "No need to use it unless there's contest." She accepts it without looking at the contents. She trusts my version. That trust doesn't flatter me, it confirms what I've become. Someone no longer reacting, someone recording, someone with an archive of silence turned into ammunition. By the time I return home, the plan is already in motion. Elaine will file by Friday. The deputy will serve the notice. And me? I make tea. I clean the guest room. I change the sheets. Donna's perfume still lingers, faint citrus with undertones of artificial grace, and I open every window until it's gone. I throw away the toothbrush she left in the upstairs bathroom. It's pink. Soft bristles. Probably chosen with a smile, like she was settling in, like she'd already rewritten the chapter with herself in my place. I vacuum the rug, wipe down the sink, fold the towels into perfect thirds. Later that afternoon, I sit at the dining table with my planner open and draw a small dot beside the date, the 17th of October 2023. Next to it, I write in capital letters, "Breach confirmed." I underline it twice. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I'm exact. That night, Grant makes pasta. He says he's craving carbs. Donna pours wine. They toast without me. I sit at the counter and watch them move around the kitchen like amateur actors blocking a scene they haven't rehearsed enough. She tries too hard to be casual. He watches me too often, like he senses a tremor but can't name the source. "You okay, Rach?" he asks at one point, lifting his glass. "You've been quiet." I meet his gaze and smile. "Just thinking." "About what?" Donna asks, her tone falsely light. I stir my tea. Boundaries. Her hand stills slightly on the stem of her glass, just enough to confirm she knows more than she admits. Grant laughs awkwardly, shifts in his seat. "That a photography thing?" "No," I say. "More of a contract thing." Silence. Just a beat. Then Donna says, "You always were good with paperwork." I nod. and patterns. She drains her glass. Grant fidgets with his fork. I excuse myself before dessert. In my bedroom, I sit in the dark, phone in hand, watching the seconds on the screen count toward midnight. At exactly 12:01 a.m., I email Elaine. Subject line, execute. Nothing in the body. She replies with a simple checkmark emoji. By the weekend, the notice will be taped to the front door, and the clock will begin ticking. Donna doesn't know it yet, but she's already been erased from this house. She just hasn't felt the cold yet. I return downstairs to find them watching a movie, blanket over both their laps. I watch them for 5 full seconds. They don't notice. I go to the guest bathroom and scrub the sink twice, then light a candle called Clean Slate and leave the door open. The scent carries. I go to bed early, and I sleep through the night. The HOA meeting is held in the community clubhouse, a space that smells like lemon-scented floor cleaner and generational tension, with plastic folding chairs arranged in anxious rows and a spread of Costco cookies no one touches because the sugar feels performative in a room thick with complaints, and Donna walks in like she owns the agenda, wearing a pastel blazer and my pearl earrings, the ones I wore to the courthouse the day Grant and I filed our joint taxes for the first time. The ones she said were a bit mature for someone your age before asking if she could borrow them just for Easter, and now they dangle from her ears like trophies she forgot to earn. She takes a seat near the front, right beside Grant, who looks dazed and overly tanned, like he's been sitting too long under heat he can't acknowledge. Miss Palmer, who always arrives early and sits in the back with her iPad, is already recording the session as per HOA transparency rules, and I catch her eye briefly and offer the smallest nod, a silent pact that everything is being documented. The president calls the meeting to order and runs through the usual noise. Landscaping fees, trash bin violations, the Christmas lights policy, which always sparks debate even though it's October, and then Donna stands. She clears her throat softly, lays her hands on the podium like it's an altar, and begins to speak about preserving dignity within our community. Her voice level, sweet, measured, and I can feel the room split in two. Those who think she sounds composed, and those who remember how she snapped at last year's bake sale over a mislabeled gluten-free pie. I lean back in my chair, arms folded, not speaking, not blinking, letting her words wash over me like cold rain I chose to stand in. We must consider the moral aesthetic of our environment, she says, and I almost laugh. She continues, talking about behavioral expectations, about respecting shared spaces, and upholding the values that built this neighborhood. And the irony is so thick I can taste its citrus, like her perfume, like rot beneath a floral spritz. I flip open my planner and write one word in clean block letters: breach. When she finishes, polite applause follows, and she returns to her seat beside Grant, who pats her knee in approval like a man who hasn't realized yet that the ship is already sinking and he's holding a paper umbrella. I study their body language. Too close, too choreographed, too synchronized for a mother-in-law and son-in-law. And I wonder how many others have noticed, but said nothing. How many saw the signs I ignored until I couldn't anymore. Miss Palmer leans forward and whispers, "Hell of a speech." And I don't respond because I'm too busy imagining how those pearl earrings will look photographed next to an eviction notice. When the meeting adjourns, I don't rush out. I linger by the coffee station, listening to the small talk echo against the linoleum, my silence, a shadow that stretches toward the door before I follow it. I don't speak to Donna. I don't speak to Grant. I don't have to. I already spoke through the paperwork, through the date stamped on the legal envelope waiting in my bag, through the quiet coordination with Deputy Harris, who confirmed via text this morning, serving date set, confirming delivery window. I sent back a thumbs up and the house number. No names needed. Everyone involved already knows who's guilty. Back home, I set the HOA pamphlet on the kitchen counter beside the notarized copy of the prenup, aligning the edges so they sit like twin testaments to truth, one public, one private. I light a lavender candle and let the flame flicker beside my cup of untouched tea, the scent mixing with the cold air from the open window, and I replay Donna's speech in my head. The tremble in her voice perfectly timed, the phrasing too polished to be spontaneous. She rehearsed that, probably in the mirror, probably while wearing my robe. I take out my phone and scroll to the screenshot I took of the meeting minutes as they posted online just minutes after the session ended. Miss Beckett voiced concerns about moral decorum and residential boundaries. The word boundaries leaps from the screen like a dare. I screenshot it again and file it under my digital folder marked Evidence, Irony. I send it to Elaine with the message, Exhibit C. She replies, stacking nicely. I pour the tea out in the sink, wash the cup, dry it, place it back in the cabinet. Every movement feels like choreography now, part of a silent opera only I am conducting, and each act is measured, rehearsed, inevitable. I sit at the dining table, open the planner, and draw a small pearl beside today's date. No caption. Just the symbol. It's enough. I glance up at the framed quote above the window. Grace isn't weakness. Donna bought it for me last Christmas. I leave it hanging. Let her see it when she returns for now. Let her wonder what it means when the walls start to shift beneath her. I don't need to scream. I don't need to confront. I have the law. I have time. I have every word she's ever used against me, polished and ready to boomerang. Tomorrow, the notice will land. Today, I let her wear my pearls and preach about dignity. It's the last lie she gets to tell without legal interruption. Deputy Harris arrives at 7:43 p.m., right on schedule, in a marked cruiser that hums into the driveway with just enough authority to make the neighbors pretend not to stare through their curtains, and I'm already waiting by the front window with the porch light on and the paperwork in hand, wearing the navy sweater Grant once said made me look like someone too serious to mess with, and tonight, that's the precise aesthetic I'm cultivating, because this isn't revenge, it's documentation served with legal muscle and peppermint-scented protocol. The knock on the door is sharp, 3 precise taps, and I don't answer right away. I let the weight of the moment settle over the house like slow fog, let Donna feel the unease before the words arrive. Eventually, I open the door and smile, just slightly, because Deputy Harris and I have history. I photographed his daughter's graduation last spring and edited out the blemish on her chin for free. So when he greets me with a polite nod and no small talk, it's not cold, it's professional. Notice to vacate, 3-day service, he says, confirming the order aloud, and I nod once, stepping aside. They're both in the living room, I reply, as if I were giving him directions to the guest restroom. He walks past me, boots heavy on the hardwood, and Donna looks up from the couch first, wine glass in hand, a blanket thrown over her legs like she's starring in a commercial for artificial comfort, and for a moment, her expression doesn't register the uniform, doesn't process the seal on the folder in his hand. Then it hits. She straightens. Grant pauses the movie. Can I help you? He asks, his voice already defensive. Deputy Harris doesn't blink. This is for both of you, he says, and sets the notice down on the coffee table between a half-eaten bowl of popcorn and the remote. Donna leans forward. Her fingers tremble slightly. What is this? She stammers. Harris doesn't answer. That's not his job. Grant picks up the paper and reads, his mouth moving with each word like he's sounding them out phonetically. You're evicting us? He finally chokes. Rachel, are you serious? I step into the room now, hands folded calmly in front of me. I'm executing the prenup, I say. Clause 7B was violated. This house is premarital property, purchased in full before our wedding. You've been served. Donna stares at me, stunned. But this is family, I interrupt her. You're not family, not anymore. Grant stands, panic rising in his throat. You could have just talked to me. We could have figured something out. We did figure it out, I reply. You made your decision at North Point. This is mine. Donna sets the wine glass down, but her hand knocks it slightly, and red liquid spills across the beige coaster like blood blooming in cotton. She doesn't notice. Her eyes are locked on me now, but I don't flinch. I don't blink. I let her sit in the silence of her own making. Deputy Harris clears his throat. You've got 72 hours to vacate. If you need more time, speak to the court. Otherwise, you're trespassing. Grant scoffs. We live here. You lived here. I correct. You live nowhere now until you sign a new lease. And Donna, I add, you were never on any lease. She flushes deep crimson, and I wonder if it's shame or rage, but I don't care, both feel like justice when they're that quiet. Harris nods to me, his job done. I'll check in 3 days, he says. Thanks, Deputy, I reply, and walk him to the door. Once he's gone, I don't stay to answer questions. I go upstairs, calm and deliberate, and close my bedroom door with the same finality one uses to close a coffin. I hear their voices rise, muffled, scattered. Grant begging for a plan, Donna insisting it's a mistake, both of them circling each other with the panic of people who never thought consequences would knock in uniform. I light a candle. The scent is sage and mint. I open my laptop and begin editing a maternity shoot from earlier that week, a first-time mom holding her belly in golden light, her partner's hands cradling her from behind, both faces full of unfiltered hope. I wonder if they know how fragile that feeling is. I give them extra edits, soft vignettes, a touch of glow. I save the folder under New Beginnings. When I go downstairs an hour later, the eviction notice is still on the coffee table. The wine stain has bled into the page. I don't say a word. I simply walk past them, pour a glass of water, and return to my room. The next morning, Donna is gone before sunrise. Her suitcase is missing from the guest room. The scarf she wore to the church foyer hangs from the back of the chair, limp like surrender. Grant avoids me all day. He doesn't speak. He doesn't pack. On the second day, he starts filling boxes. On the third day, he asks if I'll reconsider. I don't answer. I simply hand him a padded envelope labeled Final Statement. Inside are copies of the prenup, the wire receipt, a photo of Donna adjusting his cufflink at church, and a list of moving companies with the cheapest quote highlighted in yellow. No signature. No explanation. Just logistics. That night, the house is silent, peaceful, almost sacred. When Grant leaves, he doesn't slam the door, doesn't curse, doesn't even look back. He just lifts the last box into the trunk of a borrowed SUV, closes it gently like he's tucking in a lie for one final nap, then walks around to the driver's side without glancing at me, though I'm watching from the upstairs window behind a sheer curtain, not hiding but not revealing, because the moment doesn't deserve anything as theatrical as closure, only the stillness of a breath held too long and finally released in silence. The driveway is empty again by noon, save for 2 tire streaks on the concrete and a single envelope left on the front step, no name, no return address, just folded once and sealed with the precision of someone who still wants to appear careful even in their undoing. I let it sit there for an hour before retrieving it. Inside is the spare key and a short note written in Grant's blocky script. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm sorry. I read it once, then burn it in the kitchen sink with a match and a flick of indifference, watching the ash spiral into the drain like regret that arrived too late to be useful. The house is quiet in the days that follow, but not empty. There's a difference. I fill the spaces slowly, rearranging furniture, washing every surface, opening the windows wide, and letting the autumn air sweep through each room like a reset. I repaint the guest room, a cool shade of slate blue, box up every trace of Donna's presence, and drop it off at a UPS center addressed to her maiden name, not out of pettiness, but as a gesture of precision. She doesn't get to carry my family name into whatever fantasy she inhabits next. I change the locks. I replace the bedding. I order a new rug for the living room and hang a black and white print of a foggy forest above the mantel where our wedding photo used to be. The forest has no path, no people, just depth and shadow, and the suggestion of somewhere else. One morning, I open the fridge and find a half-finished jar of peach preserves Donna brought back from her weekend getaway months ago. I throw it out without opening it, then disinfect the shelf twice. I delete the wedding playlist from my phone. I block Grant's number. I unfollow Donna's Instagram and report one of her posts for misinformation, not because it's false, but because it feels metaphorically appropriate. I donate 2 bags of clothes, toss the bathrobe she borrowed, and bury the last backup of our wedding photos on an encrypted drive labeled Archive Do Not Open. Then I write a letter to myself. 3 sentences. No date. No salutation. You were not crazy. You were not too much. You were not wrong. I fold it once and place it in the drawer beside the prenup, now sealed and stamped closed. On a Thursday, I drive out to the lake where Grant proposed and stand at the edge of the dock with my hands in my coat pockets. The water is still, cold, unapologetic. I don't cry. I just watch the ripples until they fade, then turn and walk back to the car without taking a single picture. I don't need proof that I was here. The absence is enough. At home, I photograph a mother and daughter for a local magazine cover, both redheads, both freckled, both unaware of the invisible wire between them that could one day snap or stretch or survive. I frame them carefully. I soften the light. When I send the gallery, The mother writes back, "You captured our connection so beautifully." I type, "Thank you." Then delete it and write instead, "She's lucky to have you." The woman responds with a heart emoji, and I let it sit unread for 3 days before finally archiving the thread. I start attending yoga classes again, not for healing, but for control. I relearn the shape of my breath, the length of my spine, the quiet power of staying still when everything around you moves. I take long walks without music. I delete old voicemails. I polish the camera lenses I'd neglected. I don't talk about what happened, not because I'm hiding it, but because saying it out loud would give it oxygen, and I want it to suffocate slowly, buried under normalcy. One night, I make lemon pasta and eat it alone at the dining table. Candle lit, cloth napkin folded neatly on my lap, as if I'm hosting peace as my only guest. Afterward, I write out a new budget, mark a few travel dates, sketch a new business expansion plan. I call it Phase 2. I don't tell anyone what that means. On a Saturday, I receive a package in the mail. No return address, just my name, in a handwriting that trembles with restraint. Inside is a book, How to Grow Irises. No note, no explanation. I flip through it once, then shelve it between Women Who Run with the Wolves and The Art of War, and smile at the symmetry. The following Monday, I schedule a small exhibit at the local gallery, a series titled Unedited. All black and white portraits, no touch-ups, raw expressions. One of them is me. It hangs at the very end, half shadowed by the track light. When people ask if it's self-portraiture, I tell them, it's aftermath. They nod, like they understand. Some do. Most don't. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to be understood. I'm here to exist, exactly as I am, after the fire, still standing in the smoke. The video Lena filmed at the church foyer gets uploaded without my approval, but not without my blessing, because by the time it surfaces on a local forum titled Sunday Sweethearts or something worse, the damage is already done, and the internet does what it always does, dissects, discredits, debates, but mostly believes, because the footage doesn't lie and neither does the timing, not when Donna's hand lingers just a moment too long on Grant's chest while a hymn swells faintly in the background, creating the perfect blend of scandal and sanctimony. And it's Lena who messages me first, apologizing with too many exclamation points for going viral, but I simply reply, "You have a good eye," and she sends back the emoji with the halo, as if we're both in on some divine prank. In the following days, I notice small things. Miss Palmer from the HOA no longer waves when Donna passes her on the street. The Sunday school volunteer schedule suddenly excludes her name, and the florist who once offered her the family discount now posts a public statement about preserving sacred boundaries with a photo of a closed door beneath it. Grant disappears from Facebook entirely, deletes his joint business profile, and surfaces 3 weeks later under a new handle with no followers, no friends, just one post of a mountain sunrise captioned, "Starting Over," which gets 2 likes and one vague comment from a wellness coach who clearly didn't read the room. Donna, for her part, keeps her account live, but disables comments, starts posting quotes about resilience and forgiveness, none of which mention me by name, but all of which arrive on the same days. Court filings go public. She updates her bio to say, "Author in progress," which makes me laugh out loud in the kitchen while stirring lentils, because what could she possibly write? How I mistook my daughter's life for a retirement plan. I don't clap back. I don't subtweet. I just keep walking through my days like nothing happened while the world keeps adjusting around me. At the grocery store, someone I don't know squeezes my arm gently and says, "We're with you." I don't ask who "we" is. I don't need to. Even the cashier at the farmer's market, a woman who once asked me if Donna was my sister, avoids eye contact now and double bags my peaches without being asked. There's a wordless justice in all of it, not loud, not viral, just accurate. Elaine forwards me a legal digest titled Civility Clauses and Domestic Contracts. When prenups win quietly, and I skim it with a smile because page 5 quotes my case, anonymized, and calls the outcome a textbook execution of evidence-backed exit strategy. She sends a follow-up message. "You made precedent." I reply, "Not a bad legacy." Meanwhile, the gallery exhibit garners attention, small, local, but sincere. A reviewer writes that my work brings grief and dignity into the same frame, without apology. and one woman, maybe mid-40 seconds, tears up while looking at the final self-portrait and whispers to her daughter, "This is what strength looks like." And I hear it, I absorb it, but I don't let it make me soft. I'm not interested in becoming a symbol. I'm just tired of being a lesson. One afternoon, I receive an envelope addressed in slanted cursive with no return address. Inside is a single photo. My mother and I at a zoo when I was 5, both of us wearing matching visors, holding hands in front of a giraffe enclosure. On the back, in faint ink, she's written, "There was a time. I don't cry. I don't frame it. I place it in the same fireproof box where the prenup now lives, labeled, past filed, not forgotten." I take another walk through the house. Everything feels calibrated now, each room aligned with intention, no traces of other people's delusions left behind. The guest room is now my studio. The living room no longer faces the TV but the fireplace. The bedroom holds only clothes that fit and linens that feel like mine. There's no echo anymore, just air. One evening, I get a message from Lena. "They're making a podcast episode about the case. Can they quote the HOA clip?" I write back, "Tell them to quote the earrings." She sends back, and I allow myself one laugh, short, sharp, clean. In a way, it's all come full circle. The church, the video, the speech, the eviction, the silence. Each beat had its place. Each action led to the next, like dominoes tipping in slow motion, and I didn't push them, I just stopped holding them up. And maybe that's what justice really is, not revenge, not punishment, but the refusal to continue propping up what should have already fallen. So when people ask what happened, and they always ask, eventually I just say, nothing I didn't allow. And that's the closest I'll ever come to telling the full truth. I didn't win by being louder, angrier, or faster. I won because I never broke character, never let the sting of betrayal force my hand before the scene was ready, and now that everything is done, papers filed, keys returned, names removed, locks changed, accounts severed, I sit at my kitchen table with a pen and a legal pad and write out every major action like a general debriefing a completed mission, not because I'm nostalgic, but because I want to confirm that each step hit the target exactly where I aimed. And it did. Almost unnervingly so, like I'd mapped out a storm and watched the clouds follow orders. I begin with day 0, the moment I felt something fracture, not when I saw it, but when the temperature shifted in the way Grant touched my shoulder, half-second shorter, not enough for anyone else to notice, but I logged it, a data point. Then came Donna's lie about the conference in Tampa, casually mentioned, poorly timed, contradicting a date she'd confirmed for brunch just weeks prior. I made no accusations. I just remembered. I listened. I waited. Phase 1. Lena's video. Captured without prompting, delivered without context, but instantly useful. I watched it 12 times before saving it, not out of obsession, but because I needed to understand what they looked like together, how the lie shaped their faces. I documented the moment and placed it in the evidence folder. Phase 2. The financial breach. Noted and logged. Transactions pulled, dates matched, names cross-referenced. I confirmed the violation of the prenup with surgical clarity. I didn't confront. I printed. Phase 3. Legal coordination. Elaine's timeline. Deputy Harris's delivery window. Backup documentation duplicated and time-stamped. I marked each task with a checkmark so sharp it dented the page. Phase 4. Internal purge. Robes removed. Photos boxed. Jewelry returned to its rightful drawer or discarded entirely. Every object that had absorbed her scent or his arrogance was either donated or destroyed. I cataloged this not with words but with space. Each clean shelf became its own report. Phase 5. Controlled exposure. HOA speech, church foyer clip, community whispers calibrated just enough to tilt public perception without implicating me as the puppet master. It wasn't slander, it was theater. I merely left the curtains open. Phase 6. Extraction. The eviction, nonviolent, irrefutable, legally airtight. I was upstairs when he packed. Not because I couldn't watch, but because I didn't need to. The outcome didn't require performance, only patience. Phase 7. Preservation. The flash drive is now stored in a labeled envelope alongside the final statement. Emergency funds. and a printed copy of the gallery review that called my portraits emotionally confrontational without needing to explain themselves. That was intentional. That was the point. Phase 8. Reaction control. I didn't post. I didn't reply. I didn't explain. Every silence was an active choice, every absence a sentence I didn't have to write. Donna's passive-aggressive memoir quotes bounce off me like rain on tile. Grant's quiet attempts to reframe the narrative evaporate in the absence of audience. I don't correct them. I let them drown in the versions they've written. And now, here, in this final inventory of self-restoration, I realize something else. I never once violated my own code. Not once. I didn't sleep with someone to get even. I didn't scream in a parking lot or break dishes for release. I didn't even fantasize about ruining them financially beyond what the prenup allowed. I didn't become them. That matters. That was the line I refused to cross. Not because I'm better, but because I'm precise. Precision is a kind of morality, too. I glance at the pad in front of me, its margins crowded with check marks and timestamps, and feel not relief, not pride, but alignment. Like everything in the architecture of my life finally clicks into place without force. This wasn't healing. This was structural correction. I clear the table, tuck the pad away, and make myself a small dinner: broccoli and rice, a cup of tea, a slice of grapefruit. No wine, no dessert. Just enough to sustain. I go to bed early. I wake up rested. I check my email and delete 2 messages from Grant. Subject line, "One last thing." I archive them without reading. I unsubscribe from Donna's newsletter. I add 1 new sticky note to my wall. Just because they buried you doesn't mean you were dead. It's unattributed, doesn't need attribution. I open my photo archive and create a new folder titled Winter Set. Inside, I plan the next series: bare trees, frozen lakes, reflections without faces. I'll shoot it alone, no second camera. No assistant, just me and the lens, and the truth that comes when no one else is around to distort it. This is not a comeback. This is not reinvention. This is calibration. This is the life I build after the fire, where everything is chosen and nothing is inherited. The house is still, not because no one else lives here anymore, but because I have rearranged silence into something sacred, something earned. And on the morning the annulment papers arrive, stamped and finalized in thick blue ink, I don't cry, don't call anyone. Don't even pause. I simply open the envelope at the kitchen counter, scan the notarization like it's an invoice, and then walk to the drawer where I've placed the final item. The gold key Donna once used to let herself in like a queen returning to a castle she thought she could inherit, and I set it deliberately, gently on top of the thick packet that now carries both their legal erasure from my life. The sound is light, metallic, and final. I stare at it for a long moment. The sunlight cuts through the window blinds and casts a narrow stripe across the table, landing perfectly on the page that confirms what I already knew. The end is real, the chapter closed, not with drama or violence, but with formality and ink. I slip the document into the file marked Personal Closure, lock it into the small safe beneath the desk, and exhale, not because I'd been holding my breath, but because exhaling is what you do when something heavy has been carried to its rightful shelf. Outside, the world continues. Cars pass, leaves shift, a dog barks 2 streets over, and I step out onto the porch with a mug of mint tea and no makeup, wearing the soft navy robe I bought 2 weeks ago that fits better than anything she ever left behind. The wind is cool, the sky is clean, and for the first time in over a year, I feel no urge to check my phone, no need to explain myself to a silence that already understands me better than they ever did. The wedding photo that used to hang above the fireplace now lives in a sealed envelope in the back of the attic. Not destroyed, not displayed, just set aside like a souvenir from a place I no longer live. In its place is a black and white print of an open field beneath a gray sky, empty except for a single figure walking away. I titled it, Control. The gallery wants to feature it in the next exhibit, but I haven't decided yet. Some things I want to keep just for me. I return to the kitchen and place a clean linen napkin on the table, set down a small plate of toast and honey, and beside it, the last object I'd hidden from myself all this time. The pair of pearl earrings Donna once wore to the HOA meeting like they belonged to her. I retrieved them from the velvet pouch I'd tucked behind old winter coats, wiped them clean, and placed them here not to wear, not to reclaim, but to return them to stillness. They don't sparkle. They just sit. Quiet. I eat slowly. I chew fully. I don't think of them. I don't think of him. I think of the week ahead, of a small trip I've planned to a lake town where no one knows my name. I booked a cottage, no Wi-Fi. I'll bring books. I'll bring my camera. I won't bring the past. That's the deal. That's the cost of true removal. You don't just cut the rope. You throw away the map. I place the dishes in the sink, run hot water, and let the steam rise while my hands move without thought. Muscle memory built from years of service to others, now turned toward service to self. Upstairs, the bed is made, the laundry folded, the air purified. I open the windows in every room and let the wind bless each corner. Later, I sit on the back deck with a pen and a blank page. Not to journal, not to confess, but to write a new list, not of people, not of punishments, but of places I've never been, flavors I've never tried, strangers I want to photograph just once and then never see again. I write Iceland in bold. Then, Fennel. Then, a dancer at rest. This is what rebirth looks like in practice. No phoenix, no flames, just a list and a pen, and a woman no longer performing grief for anyone's benefit. That night, I pull the wedding dress from the storage bag. It's still pristine, still smells faintly like lavender from the sachets I placed inside years ago. I hold it up once, examine the stitching, the shape, the lie it became. I don't cry. I fold it gently, tie it with twine, and donate it anonymously the next day to a second-hand bridal shop in a different zip code. Let someone else give it new meaning. Let it be a blank canvas again. On the way home, I stop at a bookstore, buy 3 novels, a new notepad, and a pen that glides across the page like it knows where I'm going. I do not revisit our spots. I do not reread our messages. I do not pick up the phone when it rings and his name appears like a ghost, trying one last time to haunt a place that no longer contains fear. I let it go to voicemail. I delete it before listening. I water my plants. I wash my hair. I sleep early. And in the morning, I wake up and nothing hurts. Nothing screams. There's just breath. There's just light. There's just the sound of keys placed on paper, and the woman who finally walked away from the fairy tale they tried to write in her name and rewrote it, quietly, in her own.